Hey everybody, it's Mo from Cooking with Mo and Deb. Tonight I'm going to be making some pinto beans. So I've got a bag of pinto beans, and these are my favorite brand, but you can pretty much use any brand. These are Siler's. And be real careful because down here it says pinto beans. I just went and picked up a pack in my pantry, and I had gotten cranberry beans by mistake. But luckily I did have one pack of pinto beans. So when I first got married, my husband's mother made the best pinto beans I had ever put in my mouth. And so I tried for several years to copy hers and make mine as good as hers, and they were just not that great. I couldn't get them to thicken up. They didn't have that great flavor. And so one time I just followed her around her kitchen until I learned her secrets. So that is what we're going to do today. So I'm going to start out, if you've never, and I'm going to turn this camera down so you see what I'm doing. If you've never made pintos in your entire life, but you want to try it, it's not that hard. And so what you do, and this is not as big a deal as it used to be, but I know when I was a little girl, I would help my mom sort the beans. And what you're looking for is small stones or halves of beans that you don't want those in there. So you can pick those out. But the main thing you're looking for is big clumps of dirt or rocks. There are sometimes rocks that get in the mix. In the recent years, they have gotten a lot better at that than they used to be. They must have new equipment or something, but I don't hardly ever find rocks in my beans anymore. Do y'all? And so I'm just looking. Sometimes you'll find some that are all shriveled up or whatever, and I'll pull those out. But these look really good. That is one reason I do love the Siler's, because they are really good beans. Okay, they look good. Okay, now I'm just going to put them over here into a stock pot, this size. Okay? And that, let's see, that is a 16-ounce or 1-pound bag of beans. Now I'm going to go over here to my sink, and I'm going to wash the beans. Now, some people soak their beans overnight. I have never done that. One reason is I really just never have time to do that. I'm not thoughtful enough to think ahead and soak them the night before. So I just usually just rinse mine, and sometimes I'll soak them for like an hour. So I'm going to go ahead and let these beans sit in this water and soak for about an hour. We'll be right back. Okay, we've let our beans soak for about an hour, and this is called a quick soak. And all I'm going to do is take a strainer, pour that water off. Now some folks, they like to cook their beans in the water that they've soaked in. They say it makes them more flavorful, but I don't really know if all that's true. But I always just start with fresh water in my pot with my clean beans that have been soaked for about an hour. And I don't even always soak them for an hour because they say it takes some of the cooking time. It reduces the cooking time, but it really only reduces the cooking time maybe 10-15 minutes, so why bother, right? I've also heard that maybe it makes them easier to digest or something like that if you soak them overnight. And I don't know if that's true or not either, but you know, all tummies are different, so you just never really know if there's a way to gauge that. Anywho. Hi, kitty. Okay, so I have filled up my pot. I'm going to show you here. Halfway full with water. And I've got my package of beans in there. And I'm going to put it on my stove eye. And I'm going to bring that to a boil. Well, I think I am. I just locked my stove. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put that on high. Meanwhile, I am going to go ahead and salt my beans. Now, some people say don't salt them till towards the end, but I always do, and I always have, and that's just how I do it. So I'm going to add, this is a half a teaspoon. I'm going to add 1 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And that should be all the salt I have to add the whole time. Now when you get towards the end and you taste it and you like yours a little bit more salty, then you go for it and go ahead and add some more. But I am trying to cut down on my salt, y'all. So I probably shouldn't even add that much, to be honest with you. But I'm not the only ones eating these either. Okay, so I'm going to bring these to a boil. And what I do is once they start boiling, I cover them with a lid and I turn them down on the simmer, like maybe 3, 4 on my stove top. And I stir them every 10, 15 minutes. And then I'm gonna let those cook for about an hour and I'll be right back. Okay guys, we've let our beans cook for about an hour and I'm gonna show you how they're looking. Not too wonderful, they're pretty watery at this point. Not thickening up yet. But I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna show you a trick to thicken your beans up. Now, one thing that I did forget to show you a while ago, I did put about a tablespoon of oil into my beans before they started boiling. So I did do that. So add a tablespoon of oil. And some people like to put ham hock or something like that in their beans. I really don't. I like the flavor of just pinto beans, you know, with salt and, you know, if I'm gonna add any flavor, it's gonna be after they're done. Sometimes I'll chop up some onion, some fresh onion, and put in my beans when I eat them. Okay, so they're starting to soften up, but the juice is still very runny. So what I'm gonna add, and this really gives it a good flavor, I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of granulated sugar to my beans. I think I'll add about another 1/2 tablespoon of that. All right. Now that just really does give it a good flavor. Okay, we've already got our salt in, we've got a little bit of oil in, and just a little bit of sugar. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, the little trick to thickening up beans is I'm gonna bring them back to a high rolling boil. I'm gonna turn it back up on high, and I'm gonna leave it uncovered and boil it for about 20 minutes, and I'll be right back. Okay, as you can see, I've got these boiling at a high rolling boil, and I've let them boil for about 20 minutes uncovered. The juice is starting to turn a little bit of a pale color, so that's a good sign. I'm going to go ahead and cover these back up, and I'm going to turn them back down on simmer, and we'll be right back. Okay guys, our pinto beans are done. I'm going to show them to you now. Yummy, yummy. They are nice and thick. They have really thickened up here. And y'all, these are not hard to do. They just take a little patience. You can't rush good pinto beans. So I have cooked these all together, I think probably somewhere around 3 hours. I boiled them for about an hour. Well, no, I brought them to a rolling boil, boiled them for about probably 5 minutes, and then turned them down to a simmer for about an hour. And then I took the lid off and I turned them up and boiled them for about 20 minutes with no lid on. Simmered them again on a low simmer for about another hour, and then I just turned them up maybe one more time, let them come to a boil, and then simmered them again for another 20 minutes or so. So I didn't do the math, but somewhere around 3 hours. But y'all try these. They're easy. I'm gonna fix them with some fried potatoes, cut in little squares and fried up, and probably some coleslaw. So it's a great meal. It's wonderful in the summertime with fresh tomatoes, and we just really love pinto beans. So enjoy, and don't be afraid to cook them if you haven't ever tried it. They're not that hard. Thank you. We'll see you later.